first things first, I just want to thank you for talking to me because you absolutely did not have to do that.
Oh my God, thank you for inviting me. I was like, oh my God, someone wants to talk to me. Oh, she knows she can't get rid of me now. We friends now.
We're friends. That's what I'm here for. I literally got on TikTok with the intention of making friends.
Oh, yay. Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad. I don't know, when did you start TikTok?
March 28th. So like quarantine, the start of the quarantine.
Okay. Yeah, I literally downloaded it when that Beyonce Beychella song came out, because on Instagram, like, you couldn't copyright it and do a video, and then I heard on TikTok you can do songs, so I was like, well, let me just download TikTok so I can do the little dance and post it on Instagram. And then I didn't really log in until quarantine again, you know? And then I used to teach dance, so at first I was doing the little dances, but girl, now I'm like, let's just talk. Let's just have some conversation.
Yes. I want to start with the TikTok that you made. I'm gonna put it on up here.
I'm one of those Black girls. I have a lot of white friends, and everything that's going on in the world right now, I can count on one hand. It's literally been 2 or 3 people that have said anything to me about what's going on in the world, because I know I'm like their one Black friend. And the rest, the 97% of my other friends that are white that don't have many Black friends, have said nothing. And I know in their mind, I think they think they're being silent by not ruffling any feathers, thinking it's not their fight. But by you saying nothing, you are saying a lot. You are saying this doesn't matter to you. You are saying this doesn't affect you. You are saying, I can make a huge list. You are saying a lot. And what you're saying, it ain't good. And you're also saying, we ain't friends. At least I don't want to anymore. Thanks.
Particularly, you're talking about silence from your friends. So I don't know how much about this series you know, but I started an Interracial Friendship Series just talking about, you know, being my perspective as a Black woman in these friendships with people who are different from me racially and culturally, and just creating a space where people can come to learn and share their perspectives and their experiences. So if you could just start by talking a little bit about what motivated you to make the video, what was going on at that time in your life that made you, you know, go to TikTok and say, listen, you guys, there's something that we need to discuss.
Let me tell the people. Let me tell them. That's great. Yeah. Because before that, I mean, only more recently have I just been honest and transparent about how I feel on TikTok and not just, you know, doing cute little dances. Cause like, you know, that's not what I feel like doing, and realizing. So what made me make the video is I felt like I live in California, right? And being a Black person in California, it might be different in different states, but I'm very used to always being the only Black person, feeling very comfortable, having my Black friends, having my white friends, being the token Black friend of all the white friend groups, you know? Right. And so when this was happening, and you know, you have your quarantine people that have been checking on you during quarantine. And so I've just been experiencing life with this whole Black Lives Matter movement differently, more now, just being more aware and, you know, everything that's going on. And I've had, you know, at first nobody was saying anything, which I was like, you know what, maybe people are like trying to adjust, you know, these white friends. Because some of my white friends were, you know, weren't friends that we might have like deep conversation about. Because I also, you know, naturally have certain conversations about being Black with my Black friends, but I never really have those conversations with my white friends. So I was like, well, we've never touched this topic before, you know? So, but then I have clients, and before any friend ever reached out to me, I had 1 or 2 clients in fitness being like, I just want you to know, da-da-da-da. And then them reaching out to me opened my mind to like, oh, maybe people should be seeing if I'm okay. Why are these complete kind of strangers reaching out to me, but people who text me once a week and my own friends, why are they? I mean, obviously it must be important, because I wasn't even probably thinking about it until people who I wasn't expecting it from were checking in on me. It's obvious that I'm Black. It's not like they're like, oh, I didn't know. It's obvious of what's happening in the world. And usually I share my opinions on Instagram. But you know, like Instagram's a little filtered, as in people get very offended. And when I say the word Black or white, it's already like, oh, why can't you just say a person? It's like, no, you're a white person, I'm a Black person. So I felt like the people I was following and, you know, the people I saw on TikTok, I felt like we could be honest. Let's talk about it. Yeah. So, I think I had my towel in my hand. I was getting ready to go to bed. I was probably deep conditioning my hair, probably. I was like, what? I was like, and it was almost like a conversation I was having with myself. But my realization came from, it's been a week or so. I've also shared on Instagram, how when I was just walking down the street from the beach in my house and I encountered a cop, and automatically I'm starting to have that fear on a consistent basis. And that's when people were reaching out to me, and I was like, okay, you've had time. I saw that you saw my story. You know what I mean? About how only on Instagram I shared my frustration. But then that's when I got on TikTok and was like, okay, you haven't said anything. And you're saying a lot. You not saying anything, that's when I realized they're saying a lot. They're telling me, that statement when they say, don't believe what somebody says, their actions are saying how they feel more than what their words are saying. And so I came to that realization, like, what you're not saying is actually telling me exactly how you feel. So I no longer question, are you worried about me or does this affect you? Because you've already answered my question.
Right.
But it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, there were definitely, because when I saw your video, I know I was experiencing my own similar, like, wow, so I have all these friends that, haven't said anything, publicly, haven't said anything to me specifically. And I was in a place where I too was kind of thinking, well, are they being silent because they're uncomfortable and don't know what to say? Or are they being silent because they don't agree with the Black Lives Matter movement? What's going on? So then it was kind of like okay, I need to kind of evaluate some of these friendships. And eventually I posted a TikTok as well. I had seen another one after yours. I also posted a TikTok just talking about, if you're truly friends with someone, you're gonna check in on them. You care about their well-being. So even if you don't have a PhD in discrimination and prejudice and you don't know everything that's going on, hey, how are you doing today? Checking in on someone. So with that, I know you mentioned having friends that you didn't speak to about issues before this, which is another thing, a whole other thing of like, sometimes we're in these friendships where we don't even get to explore our identities, I guess, so we don't get to that point of the friendship maybe. How is it with tensions and everything being so high? Like, have you completely cut people off? Have you had those conversations that you never had before?
Girl, let me tell you. I, at least at my age now and where I am in my life now, before I used to be like, every time I lost a friend or something happened, I'd be like, oh. And now I'm like, woo, I'm feeling lighter already. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you almost feel more freeing. You know what I mean? And so the fact that I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt before, because it's not like we ever talked about race before, because, I live in San Diego, and before when there was a Black Lives Matter protest, it was always like, oh, that's something that's going on, but they didn't really associate me with Black issues. But then when they're realizing, like, no, you don't live in the stereotypical ghetto neighborhood, all these stereotypes that people put in a box of why you would fit in that category or why I should be concerned. It's like, no, I'm not a special Black person. And so I know that people, my friends that are white or non-Black, when you say, when they try to describe someone, they try not to use the words white and Black, right? Everything's just like, they were the type of people where I don't see color. And I'm like, don't say that out loud because then we don't have to talk about it. But we've never talked about race really because it feels comfortable to act like it's not a thing because it's like, it's a negative thing. So for me, I have made the choice it's interesting that it happens during quarantine because it's not like you're calling me to hang out and I'm like, no, thank you. So it's interesting to happen at a time where we're technically not hanging out anyways. So I think it softens the blow. I mean, one of the things I had posted, I don't know if I put on TikTok too, was like, hey, if I don't see you, I literally was like, if you aren't following anybody that supports Black Lives Matter movement or love and justice and equality, and I don't see that, like, I'm unfollowing you. So in case you're wondering why I unfollowed you, that's what had happened. And it was unfortunate because I literally had one person say something to me, but it's weird. Like, someone checks in on you, but you're also following Donald Trump. So it's like, how do these relate to each other? You know what I mean? And I was like, I unfollowed all of my people that follow Donald Trump because I was like, you don't work in the news. You're not a news correspondent. You know what I mean? Yeah. but I let them know, like, I'm unfollowing people all day. And I used to never unfollow people because I'm petty. I'm petty to death.
I'm here for it. Be petty's been a challenge. I know I've seen people are just like, because it takes energy and effort to, like, it's a choice to decide, okay, this person is following Donald Trump. Like, we were friends. This thing is happening. We could talk about it. We might explore. Maybe they'll learn something. Maybe they'll, change. But on, like, your part as, the woman of color and, with this, it's like our responsibility almost. And there's this extra pressure when you were talking about being lighter and kind of like a weight. I kind of felt that because it is taxing to try and foster these relationships with people who don't do research themselves. It's just on us to it puts it on you to then educate them, and that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot of work.
So this is what I can to give awareness and let you know what you can get information from, but also know, like, this is my life. A lot of these things you're asking me, I don't need to look them up because it's happening to me. I don't need to look up the unfairness because I'm experiencing. I don't need to look up what's happening to Black people because I see that on my timeline because I actually follow other Black people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I have shared with friends like that have reached out to me. I was like, instead of us having this one-on-one, I want you to educate yourself before we have a frustrating conversation with each other. Yes. And I'm trying to educate you and open your eyes. Like, be informed. And then when you're informed, if you have further questions, then we can dialogue. But I don't need to be your teacher, your counselor, your everything. Because what about me? I'm the one living it. It's like talking to the victim. And it's like, well, dang, an example I thought of in terms of like, okay, maybe they feel like this doesn't affect them, right? I was like, okay, let me try to think of an example of what people are normally compassionate about, even if you've never experienced it. And I was like, okay, something that people are compassionate about is breast cancer awareness. It is an issue. It is something that we do walks for, we raise money for, we wear the shirts for, and it's not something you're gonna stop. It's always gonna be happening until we find cures and have money. And I still do things for breast cancer, even though I have not experienced it myself. Right. I don't. But if for some reason, how like Black people are kind of dying right now, if all of a sudden we were at a time where everybody who had breast cancer was dying ridiculously, the doctors weren't helping them, and they were just falling off by the wayside. If I had a friend who had breast cancer, I obviously would be like, I know you're scared right now. Yeah. I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, she has cancer, that sucks. Too much going on. No, I'd be like, you know what? I know what's going on in the world right now. I don't know how afraid you are, but just know I'm here to talk or help or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to have the answer. It's almost like when somebody dies, it's like, oh, I don't know how to comfort them. You don't have to have the answers, but say something, because saying nothing also says that it doesn't affect you and you don't care.
I really felt like, the people who haven't said anything, it seems like they're not only ignoring this issue because, they can, but they're also ignoring me. And it just made me wonder, like, obviously I'm not that important in your life. I thought we were friends, right? And then, but yeah, so I think you've been, so for people that are, and haven't been in classrooms or at jobs, or just in friend groups where they're the only Black person, do you have any like advice or any tips that you've given yourself to help you get through those moments and make it a little bit easier, a little less uncomfortable?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because even though racism has always been a thing, injustices have always been a thing, it has always kind of been put under radar, right? So it's like you feel more safe because you're not constantly seeing it. It's a thing that happens. It's almost like when I'm called the N-word. It's like I know I could always be called the N-word, but I don't really think about it until it happens to me more, So the same thing with this. I've always, been used to being the only Black person in the classroom growing up and at my job and all these things. And I think before growing up, it bothered me because I was looking for someone to relate to. As a kid, you want some kind of connection. You found that everybody became friends with people that looked like them and acted like them. And so my whole life, I always, I didn't even start wearing my hair curly until I was in college because I was just like, straighten it. And then my mom would only let me, right? And then my mom wouldn't give me a hot comb because she didn't want me to put my hair off. So I was trying to straighten with a blow dryer. I was looking to fit in all the time. And I think what's great about college is I finally got to see more Black people. I went to San Diego State. I don't know if it's problematic, but we had a little area called Little Africa. That's where all the Black people are. And then we literally were like, I was like, this is the most Black people I've seen. You know what I mean? It wasn't that much. It was not that much at all. But it was more than me being the only one in my class, you know?
Sure.
And we would literally go around and be like, I think everybody also wasn't used to this. It wasn't like they were always used to hanging out with Black people. So when we would see each other at San Diego State, we'd be like, Black people. We literally, every time we saw a Black person, we'd be like, Black person, you know, like we were welcoming. And then when I was doing that, I started to feel confident about like, yeah, I might be the only one in this classroom, but I have a whole bunch of other Black friends that I know that would support me. So now that I live by the beach, girl, and I'm the only brown person that lives across the street from the beach, okay? I was like, no, I love the beach. I know that I won't see another Black person in my neighborhood, but this is where I want to live, you know? And I learned to embrace it, you know? Like, I know I'm the only one with this big curly hair and this brown skin and these thick thighs in these streets.
Oh, thick thighs, brown skin.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what? When I realized, because I left San Diego to be in LA and I worked in entertainment and all that other stuff, I was like finding myself. And I hated San Diego because there was no Black people. But once I built my confidence and I knew who I was, when I came back, I was able to be like almost excited to be the only Black person, because I was like, you thought there was going to be no Black people in this room? Well, here I am. Hello. You thought there was going to be used to it? Is you first have to really, really find confidence in yourself. Like, I couldn't feel this way when I was younger because I was trying to fit in. I was trying to find somewhere to connect. I was trying to, you know, but when I was like used to being the Black sheep and embracing the Black sheep and loving that I look different, embracing it, girl, you would think that I'm somebody important, because now when I go around San Diego, well, before quarantine, like literally I would make friends wherever I go. People were like, I don't know, you're just so exciting and fun. And it was because I wasn't trying to be like them. You know what I mean? I attracted more people because I was different, and I was like, you better come on over here because this party is happening. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So learning another Black person, it's hard because we are in categories sometimes. The white acting Black person and the Black acting Black person. That sometimes they put us against each other because we like, well, you don't act like me. This world says you're better than me, way we look or act. But realizing like, no, I could still be your Black friend. I could still have a Black friend. I could still, I hate using the word act white, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I can still act society standards of white, which is really just correct and proper.
Yeah.
And I can hang out with you, and you can be the stereotypical, what the world calls Black, which is unfortunate. And we can connect. I don't have to only, so I don't know if you notice, the way the world has it, it makes it more natural for me to only want to hang out with other Black people that are used to being the only Black one, or the whitewashed one, or the one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have a natural disconnect where we're not even naturally connected to, like, you know, the Black community, honestly. You know what I mean? Because there's this fear of like, well, they don't accept me because I don't act like that. And that's when I finally was like, look, I'll hang out with the white people, I'll hang out with Black people, I hang out with the Mexican people, because I don't care, because I'm embracing who I am. I embrace how I talk, which is whitewashed to some people. I embrace my curly hair, which is too nappy for some people, and I don't care.
Yeah, you know me, know that I fight for my people. I'm very vocal. Even in the friendships where I'm the friend groups where I'm the only Black person, the movies that we watch, we're gonna watch the movies. We're gonna have some conversations. Just because I have, like you said, you have every, like, I don't understand why the world tries to separate us that way. Like, oh, this is this group of Black people, this is this other group of Black people. Y'all are gonna end up, we're gonna try to make it seem like the whitewashed Black people are gonna judge. And it's just like, no.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if we were to all be standing together, nobody's talking.
Right?
So I don't know, but I definitely, that's another conversation that I want to have.
Girl, I know. I know we're supposed to be talking about interracial friendships, but it's like,
It goes.
right? The thing about this conversation, as I'm sure you're realizing, it's like a rabbit hole. It's like we're talking about, you know, white silence and how these people aren't talking, but then we also talk about how we feel individually, and then how we feel in the community, and then our reaction to them, and then all these emotions, and then our family. It's like, we could go everywhere about it. You know what I mean? We're experiencing it, but we're also learning in the journey what we've done to ourselves and what we feel because of what has been told to us.
I want to touch on as many topics as I can that, you know, involve race relations and how we move about society, because we're all coming in contact with each other, and eventually we're gonna have to figure this out and cohabitate. Wait, I don't know the word I'm trying to use. Live together in peace, unity, and harmony.
And embrace the differences, because I think before, just from the outside looking in, looking at how we've progressed through like segregation, civil rights, and stuff like that, a lot of the times equality appeared to be simulation. Oh, you'll be equal because we all dress the same and act the same, and that's when we start straightening our hair and dressing, you know, a certain way, because we felt like equality meant like we all kind of look the same. Instead of, no, we could have equality, and I wear a kente cloth. I'm like, why are we able to have like little Italies and Chinatowns and all these other places, and we love going to eat there and all those other things, and they embrace their culture, but we don't look at them less than. But we do that to Black people because we stripped them of their culture that they can't really bring, because they almost have two cultures, our African culture, our African American culture that kind of like came from that, and we're still, girl, we need our own psychiatrist. I don't know if they're doing this to you too, is like asking you like, how can I help? How can I petition? What protest? And it's like, okay, Sarah, whatever your name is, what do you normally do when you want to find out information about something? When you want that 6-pack, do you ask your friend with the 6-pack, or do you get online? You look to see who has the information. Okay. I'm like, it's like rocket science. You know what I mean? When you normally want to find out something, you look it up, you research it, you ask people who are in that field. You don't just ask the homie. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that as in like double confirmation or to have conversation about it.
Right.
So the same thing with this huge issue. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I posted, like you were talking about, I posted something about people being silent and just checking out their friends, and then the research piece of it, like the what can I do? And so then from those posts, there were a couple people that, you know, that had reached out, and some of it felt genuine, like, you know, I genuinely didn't know what to say. And like, how do you navigate like people that, you know, are afraid to speak? Because but like, what would you say to the white friend that was like, listen, I was afraid, to be completely honest, I was ashamed of, you know, how my people are treating your people. I was afraid of, you know, offending you and saying the wrong thing. And then I didn't want to make it worse because I know you have a lot going on right now. Like, what do you say to that friend when they reach out?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that person is easier to talk to than the person that doesn't address it or bring it up at all. And they just were like, let's get drinks. And you're like, but what had happened in my life was kind of huge. You know, I could have died any day. You know what I mean? So I think it's easier to address the person that's like, hey, I didn't know what to say, and they're having that conversation, because we can go somewhere from there. Right. You know, it's almost like being in any relationship. If they had if they saw you going through the worst time in your life and said nothing, could you continue being in that relationship? Or would you have to address like, hey, I went through a really hard time and you were quiet the whole time. We can't further have this relationship, you know, when you're in an intimate relationship, if we don't address this, because I might go through these feelings again. Yes. You know what I mean? And so I think the same thing with friendships. Those are intimate relationships because we share our emotions and stuff like that. Maybe we need to be careful and use another term. There's friends and there's people you know. So your friends are the ones that check in on you. Those are the people that, you know what's going on in your life and they care for your well-being. But you're just somebody I know.
I like that.
You're not, I can't call you a friend if when I'm in danger and you know that I'm in danger and you say nothing. You addressed a lot of the times that the things we're going through have always been going through. It's just like the remix. We're handling the remix of segregation, civil rights. So the way I've been thinking about it recently is like, okay, everything is different. Maybe these white people don't know how to act and stuff like that. But what's the difference between, you know, white people, non-Black people being silent now compared to the same white people that didn't say anything when segregation was going on? They still may have had a Black friend, but Sarah, you can't come eat with me for dinner because only whites can come to this restaurant. And in our friendship, you never, ever say that it's wrong that you can go eat there and I can't. That's it's the same. Like, we don't have to educate you. We'll send you the link.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if you have any questions, per my last email. Thank you very much.
Woo, I CC'd you.
We should just send out a mass email. That's what we need to